up, y'all? I'm Steve with Elev8, and today we got a really cool Elev8 with Kyru Glass. Man, his glass is super cool. The creatures are super cool. I'm super excited to go hang out with them. Really quickly, I want to mention we have Elev8 ambassadors. You could join us and be an Elev8 doll and Elev8 jet. Help us build the Elev8 brand, as well as earn some credits and cool stuff. Also, we got Elev8 veterans. Go check it out. It's a really cool way to help us elevate some veterans that helped give us our freedom that we have here. Anyways, let's roll in with Kyru Glass. Well, today we got Kyru Glass here for Elev8. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
Oh yeah. So the first question I gotta ask is, how did you get into this glass game? I think people that do it are kind of crazy.
Yeah, it started off about 9 years ago. It's gonna be 9 years this month, actually. I was into photography and everything, and kind of saw the technology of photography changing so much from like when I first learned, and I was like, man, I might not have another job in like a decade or something. So of course I saw glass, and I was like, oh, maybe I can do something like this, and just started taking classes and did a few apprenticeships and stuff like that, and kind of just jumped into it that way.
Were you taking pictures of glass, or were you just photography?
No, actually, I was like taking sports photos for like the local newspaper and that kind of stuff, and setting up, doing like school pictures and stuff. But yeah, I like glass. You don't have to depend on like a bunch of people. You could just sit there in front of your torch, and you don't have to orchestrate a bunch of stuff normally, you know.
Are you kind of a hermit then? Because I know
Yeah,
a lot of
definitely. Yeah.
I know a lot of blowers are. So when you said I like being by myself, I was like, I bet.
Yeah, I like going to other shops and working on with it and other stuff. Like I go out and work with Merck out in Colorado and a
Hell
couple of
yeah.
blowers. But yeah, we just got, my wife and I have our shop in the backyard, and we got a couple acres here in Michigan. So it's kind of nice just being able to go in the backyard and get to work, you know?
Yeah, so you and your wife both blow glass then?
Yep.
Hell yeah. That's it's not super common in this, but I have met a couple couples and it's freaking neat.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Sometimes she gets a little annoyed with me when I'm just like, nope, that's not right. You got to do it again. But she knows I'm just trying to help her get better and stuff, you know? So.
Right. Like we all are. And the constructive criticism is great. And you can help her get past it too. So.
But yeah, luckily enough, she listens. I've had some people I've tried showing glass blowing to, and they just don't understand. So like after a while, you're just like, okay, if you're running into the same problem and I'm telling you how to fix it, just like do it this way. And they're like, no, I don't think that's the way to do it. I'm just like, why are you asking me that?
Right, Rob. Why even ask? Why waste my time? And because we like to help people, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's frustrating.
You don't want to sit there and fail.
Right. And then when you help them and they don't want your help, it's like, oh, well, it was just a waste. So that's really neat. So you and your wife collab, I assume quite often, and you work with Merck and Mama Glass at times. Yeah. Do you collab often with a lot of people then?
Not so much. I mean, lately I've been just trying to catch up on orders and stuff like that from shops, and I can finally breathe a little bit because we were pretty packed with Glass Vegas this last year and Champs and stuff like that. So there's a couple of local guys I learned from that I normally do like a little collab here and there with them, but it's not enough time in the day some days, you know?
No, I feel you. How did you actually get your name, Kyru Glass?
So I worked at a glass shop, and it was a grow shop and glass shop.
All right.
And so every morning we would have our morning meetings, and there's a South Park episode with the human centipede. Have you seen that one? Where they hook them all up together, and one of the Japanese guys is like, oh, Kyru, I have to eat the cuttlefish. And that's what the guys at the shop, like 12 of these guys, would just say to me every morning when I'd come into the break room. So I was making my Instagram, and I was like, well, I guess I could change it later on. They kind of just stuck, you know?
Right. And that's it. I mean, it works. And I was just curious how you get it, because it's not part of your name, but there's always a great story.
It's from South Park, that's for sure.
Hell yeah. And so you said you've been on the torch for 9 years now?
Correct. Yep. started off on like a major minor, and then
Me too.
got a CC, and then I had a Phantom for a while, and then I bought my Mirage, which is my wife's torch, and now I work on a Samurai.
Right on, right on. I wish they would put together something and never let people get those red maxes, because we always upgrade, and while it can get the job done, it's just don't do it.
I love my GTT. What do you work on?
A GTT, yeah.
Nice.
People say.
Merck's always trying to convert me over to a Herbie because he loves his Herbie. I'm just like, oh, I've just been using this torch for so long. I know all the settings and everything, how I want it. Maybe one day.
My thing is, I will never do it because a GTT, A, it is built in America, and B, no torch can get hotter than a GTT. And I don't think anybody will argue that. So then comes this bushy flame with all these other torches. Hey, that's called pushing it out further in the flame or adjusting your torch. Like, so that's my argument for GTT. But
there you
go. So did you have any mentors when you first started? It sounds like you were working with some guys.
Yeah. Before I worked at the Torch Glass Studios, before I worked with them, I worked with Dan Foster. He goes by Foster Glass on Instagram. He does like a bunch of birch tech, which is pretty awesome.
Okay.
And then Kyru Glass Works, which he does like a lot of scientific stuff. So they had a shop that's in downtown Kalamazoo, which is about 20 minutes from where I live, and go down there. And one of the guys that owns the shop down there used to work for Pfizer. So he's making all these crazy test tubes and beakers and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun learning all that different stuff.
Yeah, so you got to learn like the artsy side of it as well as scientific.
I'm definitely not as good on the lathe as some people are, but I can do a couple of things.
Hell yeah. And so how long were you on the torch before you actually got to work on a lathe then?
I mean, they had me starting to work on prepping stuff within like the first 6 months to a year. Like I was prepping feet for like rigs and stuff like that, doing like the mouthpieces. Back in the day, making domes. I hate making domes. I'm glad that's not a thing anymore.
That male joint, which should have never happened.
Yeah. I made a lot of domes in my life, a lot of clear domes, that's for sure. But I mean, this helps you get practice in, and kind of like the bread and butter. So that's always fun.
And right, no matter where it is, there's always a point in the glass industry where it's like, maybe it shouldn't be happening or it is. But it's a piece that's going to allow you to just really learn the glass and refine your skill set. And for you, it's a dome.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you're doing too many domes anymore.
No, I do a lot of sculpting, so that's fun.
Yeah. And so how did you get into the sculpting of stuff? You mentioned Merc, and I know he's like an OG.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Merc kind of has been like, I started off with Stephen Wheeler, who works at the Torch Glass Studios in Holland for a while. So I worked with him, and he showed me a couple of different carving techniques and stuff like that. And then Merc saw some of my work and started going out there and collabing at his house, and it's been a lot of fun. It's kind of one of those things, like he knew I could do like all these technical things, but he's just like, why aren't you like adding it all together? I'm like, well, it takes too much time. And then he's like, it doesn't matter how much time it takes, just do it. It's like, all right, you're not wrong.
Right, and that's really neat that somebody was there to just say, hey man, just do it. And
yeah, just like doing the refining, you know what I mean? Because like doing like all the domes and stuff like that, I was always kind of in a production kind of mindset, but then I'd try making like, I don't know, production headies, if that's a real thing with like sculpting and stuff like that. So I mean, working on chillums and stuff like that, and just like getting down like a certain carving technique, and then just being bored of using that same tool and trying to figure out something else to use. I mean, I just made 40 chillums and 40 spoons that were all sculpted, and I was getting bored because I was like, all right, maybe I'll try new carving techniques. I came up with one with like using my tungsten tweezers that I never thought of using before. that's fun working on smaller stuff like that, especially with sculpting, because you could be like, okay, this is how this is gonna work, or this work, and this isn't exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, and that's a good point you bring up there. Trying something new. Don't try it in a big giant rig that you're gonna attempt something new. Try it in a bat or a small spoon or something. But right on. I did notice the white that you're using for the teeth. What is that white? It seems super bright.
So I used to use Lotus White, and I love that color, but it's like so impossible to like get a hold of that I just use Star White now.
Okay.
And I just like work it really slow, and you got to kind of baby it, you know how Star White is.
Yep. It works.
I did pick up some of that Rhino that they had at Champs this year. I haven't been able to really mess around with that too much because it's kind of just sitting on my bench waiting for a rainy day project,
Yeah, I was just wondering, it was a really bright white, or it just, so I was curious, but.
Yeah, that's Star White. I used to use a lot of Lotus White. Like whenever they would have any, I would be buying like 10 to 15 pounds of just Lotus White.
Wow. And that's molten ore. Sorry, I just slipped my mind. But and so that's a very pricey glass as well then, but good.
But yeah, Star White's a little bit easier on the pocket too.
Yeah.
And I use a lot of white.
I noticed. Have you taken any classes, and have you given classes, and do you recommend them?
Oh, yeah, I definitely highly recommend classes. It was probably about 6 years ago when I took a banjo and punty class in Elbow, and they made one of their transformers. That was really awesome. That was like the first time I ever saw like somebody pull down a glass stringer, which is a small piece of glass, and then put it into a mechanical pencil and actually like drawing on it. Like I was sitting there watching punty, and I was like, how did you even come up with this like technique? And it was just so mind blowing. It kind of just really stepped up my game too, because I was like, this is crazy stuff that they're making right now. And it's just like taking those small little steps that you learn over the years, and it's like keep on building on it. That's the one thing I love about glass blowing is if you're not learning something new, you're kind of doing it wrong.
Right. And it sucks to have things break on you or to do that, but that's life, man. You gotta learn. And when you fail and you win it, it's like the battle has been super won. So
yeah, I was working on a piece for Champs back in the summer games, and I had everything all prepped up, and then like my head just exploded. And my heads, like for my bigger monsters, take me like 3 hours to make with the whole mouthpiece and everything. So like I basically didn't end up finishing the piece, but if I would have had like another half hour to an hour, I might have been able to do it. But it's just one of those things about doing competitions,
Yeah, like you gotta hit every single like technique perfect. You can't fail, and because if you're trying to win, you're trying to cram so much into it.
Yeah. And I run into that problem. Sometimes I bite off more than I can chew, trying to pack in as much detail into a small space. And then sculpting really doesn't like to be rushed, So like if I'm working on an arm, and I'll be letting like the whole body warm up. So like I'm always keeping myself distracted, so I'm not getting in the kiln trying to pull out that piece too fast,
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's just to keep me sane so I don't throw pieces on the ground from breaking and whatnot. But yeah, I've had pieces where it's like everything is all ready to go, and then it just all crumbles at you like after working on a project for a couple of days. I mean, I got a pretty awesome mushroom piece that's sitting in the shop right now that's been in timeout for like 2 months because it just kept cracking everywhere. I'd chase a crack out, then it'd start somewhere else. You're just like, come on.
Yeah. I hate to laugh because I've been there and done it. I don't wish it upon nobody, but I laugh because it's like,
it's not just happened though.
Yeah, it's crazy. Where do you get your inspiration and creativity from?
So like my wife and I are like really big into like going in nature and like going like snorkeling and stuff like that. So my favorite thing to do with, especially like with monsters and these aliens or whatnot, is like take one aspect from like a fish or like say like an animal and like kind of fuse the two together. So like come up with like a new crazy monster, you know?
Right.
Like sometimes like, I'll have my buddies look at a piece and they'll just be like, oh, that's not an octopus because it only has like 5 tentacles on it. I'm just like, oh, have you been to Planet Kazorpazorp? I think you haven't. Just be like, this is this name from this alien from like this galaxy or whatnot. And then they're like, okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
It's just like there's no limit, you know?
yeah, that I think that's the beauty of like monsters and doing things that are abstract almost is. And as an artist, we get to live and create our own freaking world, and
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the one thing I love about doing the aliens and the monsters and stuff is just being like, oh, you can't actually tell me I can't do that because I can because it's my own little universe, you know?
And it sounds like you already got universes named and everything, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing my wife helps me do. We just kind of sit down and we'll like look at the monster or whatnot. We're just like, oh, this would be kind of a cool name. He's from, because I realize like if you start like naming them and like giving a little backstory on them and stuff like that, it makes it more fun for like the collector. It makes it fun for me just like making them, you know what I mean? And just like some stories. Yeah, some stories like because in most of my posts I always have the description of like what the name of the alien is, what galaxy it's from, and then like a short description. But like intertwining different monsters, being like, oh, this monster that I posted like a week ago coexists with this other one and stuff like that. So this makes it fun for me. It makes it fun for the collectors. It's like people just get excited about it. It makes it more collectible, you know?
Yeah.
I've been kind of tossing around the idea. I want to start making like little trading cards. So like if you get a rig, then you have like 10 trading cards and then you can start trading them with other collectors that collect my work and stuff. So it's been something I've been playing around with. I just got to do it. One of those things.
That's what you were talking about earlier, finding that time and yeah. So what is your preferred style or technique? Would it be the sculpting or?
Yeah, I would say the sculpting. Well, when I first started sculpting, I was really big into doing like reversals and wigwags and stuff like that. And so when I'd have like a week of just breaking everything sculpting, I would kind of go back to doing wigwags, doing like Sherlocks and stuff like that. And I just really like the flow of like how the line patterns look and stuff. And then being able to add the sculpting on top of the line work too makes it a little bit more fun.
Next level. Yeah.
Kind of one of those things again where you're just like adding. It's kind of like Legos. Glass, that's what I consider Glass as being is like adult Legos. You could just like grab everything, kind of put it together.
That's a great analogy, man. I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd say sculpting definitely probably my passion for sure. But every once in a while, I'll start messing around with some line tubing and getting that fun for a couple of days. Be like, all right, I'm bored. Next sculpting.
Yeah, and I feel line tubing, you know, it's while it can be all this stuff and crazy, it's safe. You can do little things and you can do whatever. It's safe. So
yeah, that's kind of why it was always one of those things where I just kind of fall back onto it after having a couple of like, I don't know, just like hardships with like sculpting and having it break after working a couple hours on it, you know. But,
yeah, you got to readjust and find those wins, the things you can get to get over those, and that's life because it never stops, ebbing and flowing, and
yeah.
Have you had any like periods in your career where you've made a big shift and say you were doing the domes and then you went into just sculpture stuff or any other stuff?
Yeah, it was kind of probably about like 3 years ago, like, cause I was trying to like really dial in doing like my heads for like monsters and stuff like that, trying to get them to like come more alive. But like, I was working on just clear beaker bottoms with them and then doing the head. And then within the last 3 years, I really started doing like all the arms and the feet and stuff like that. And you kind of see where like the progression of it's kind of changed throughout the whole thing. Kind of like what Merc was telling me, like you know how to do it. You just got to take the time to do it. It's like taking the time to pull out all the toes and doing all the limbs and feet and stuff like that. I mean, you can suck up a 12-hour day pretty quickly.
Right. On just getting the parts, and then you got to put it together possibly. Or yeah, every time I see one of those sculptured where it's like you got the knuckle and then like some more skin there and then the claw coming, it's like it wasn't just 3 dots of glass. It was a dot with a little more molding and then another piece that had to be molded. It's nuts what goes into it.
And that's something too, actually, that kind of pushed me into like refining my limbs and like my toes and my arms. Is 2 years ago, I took a coil class before down at the glass park, and coil was just using scissors for everything. And my favorite tool in my shop right now is a pair of $2 scissors from Harbor Freight. They're like pruning shit scissors or something like that, but that's what I use for like cutting like my feet and my arms and all that stuff. Because it's really not like pushing the glass like some of the bigger diamond shears and stuff like that you have. It's just like really refined and small, you know? Because I feel like when you go to sculpt something with like the bigger like scissors that you can buy from like ABR or Mountain Glass, it just moves the glass a little bit too much. When those little scissors are awesome. I should have brought them up here.
You know, that's a really good point you bring up about the tools and what you need, you know, like the glass places like Mountain Art or anybody else, DNL or whatever, you know, they're happy to sell you on all the nice high price stuff, but you don't really necessarily need it. And
exactly.
Or should you have it? Like I talking to a guy who got jacks. I've never used jacks. I don't know when you would use jacks. Like, why would you sell a beginner jacks? Like,
you know, I actually use my tungsten tweezers as like basically mini jacks for like flaring open blow tubes and stuff like that.
Right. So you have your jacks right there already.
Yeah, and they're tweezers, you know. So there was this like one day I was always trying to order a pair of tungsten tweezers because everyone's like, oh, these are awesome. And I would go to order them and they would always be out of stock. And then I finally got some and I was like, oh, I could treat these like little mini jacks instead of picking up another tool and trying to reamer. And I don't even grab my reamer for that stuff anymore with flow tubes and stuff.
That's really, man. It's crazy how everybody finds these different things that just really makes their lives so much more efficient and everything too. Flaring out a blow tube.
Yeah, there's 10 ways to do it. Not all of them are right though, you know.
Right, but somebody will argue as well. So
yeah.
What are your favorite items to blow then? Pipes, rigs, pendants?
I'd probably say rigs just because I can get really crazy with them. I do enjoy making pendants though with like some nice opal coins. Like I really love Profound Glass, and they do a really cool Michigan shape opal that I normally grab and do it for like friends or family and stuff like that and kind of deck it out. It's fun because like we were talking about earlier with like the chillums, it's something small that you can work on. When we're working on pendants, you're working on something that's really small and you got to be as detailed as you can. Try packing in as much detail in a small space.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. I guess it's more of like a game to me.
And that's it. Finding the things in life. And if it's all a game, it can't be that bad. So
no. Yeah, I got like a couple of years ago, I went to Tucson and I found like a bunch of like small pieces of moldavite. So like I like to do the piece of moldavite like on the bottom of like an opal or whatnot, and then pull my horns around the moldavite.
Yeah. So you found that out in nature then?
They do the Tucson Gem and Jam show, which is like a whole month long down in Tucson, Arizona. And yeah, a couple of my buddies went back in 2017 and I just came across some and I was like, I'll scoot this up and have it for a rainy day.
Nice. Because isn't that created when a meteor hits the earth or something?
Yeah, so a meteor hit like a riverbed in like Czechoslovakia. And like when it hit the riverbed, it was basically molten glass. And it basically, when it hit, it just splattered. And that's why it's like a bunch of really small pieces or there's some bigger ones. It's really cool, actually.
Yeah, that's so neat.
And we can use it to glass, which is crazy.
Right. What is your favorite color to work with?
I've been really liking that Stargazer from North Star lately. That this morning I messed up on a blowout doing that. which was not cool. But yeah, Stargazer is a fun color. Double Dose, we have our love-hate relationship sometimes.
Okay. And who makes Double Dose? I don't think I've used that.
Glass Alchemy.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes I don't have any issues with it, or there's sometimes like I'll just have the whole thing explode on me, and it's just like, well, there goes that.
Yeah. What color do you not like?
If you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said Star White.
But
I don't know. Fade to Black, I really like the color, the way it looks, but when I use it in sculpting, it just does not agree with me. Like I'll like pull it out of the kiln, it'll be perfectly fine, and then completely like crack in like a billion spots.
Yeah, I think that color can only be used by itself. It's the only color that comes with some stupid special instructions that says, don't encase it, don't put clear on it. It's
don't even look at it wrong.
Yeah.
I like Terps quite a bit too from Glass Alchemy. That's another good one.
Yeah, that's a really pretty orange that.
Yeah, I really enjoy working that color. I really want to try that Rhino, but I've been kind of saving that for one of my mushroom pieces, doing a big blowout on that, see how well it works. It looks like it works just like Lotus White. So.
And is that, it's also a white then I'm imagining, the Rhino color? Maybe slightly grayer.
North Star's like new white that they just released at Champs a couple months ago.
Oh, okay.
And it's in the Boro Slugger bars. So it's like the big Slugger bar, kind of like Stargazer. So.
I won't use them. I got a big Slugger bar, and it's like all this work to pull it down, or all this work to heat it and blow it out. Give me the rods.
Yeah. I know I go back and forth with the same mentality with that too. And I asked them too at Champs, I was like, are you guys going to pull this out in the rods? And they're like, well, we can't because of the way the crucible's working right now. And I was like, dang it. Because I'd be buying that Rhino like it's going out of style if that was the case. I don't know. I do a lot of coil potting and stuff like that when I'm working with colored rods. So that's
getting that Boro Slugger bar down for a coil pot. It's a lot of work into it, It
is a lot of work and it's very hot. It's finally not humid in Michigan right now, so it's a little bit nicer to be out in the shop.
Yeah, no doubt.
We got a pretty nice heater in there, so we kind of just set it to the temperature we want and work all throughout the winter. It's pretty nice.
Hell yeah, that's good, man. What's the most difficult piece you've ever attempted?
Oh man. There was a competition I think it was last year that I tried entering in it and it just didn't work out, but it had to be multifunctional. So it had to be like a functioning rig or a pipe or like a decanter. So I had this whole extravagant idea of doing like a Star Wars cantina, like where they're always like at the cantinas or whatnot, Star Wars. And so I built this huge, massive decanter that had I think it had 6 sections of 50 mil that were all connected together, and they were all like a foot tall, so you could fit like a fifth in it. And you can imagine how much that weighed. I'm sitting there like trying to spin it out, and I got that like part of it all done, and then it just went down tubes from there, and just kind of gave up on it. Sitting by my bench now. One of these days I'll get back at it, but I think at that point I needed a lathe.
and that could be when you experiment and go into these things that you learn what you might need better next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, probably like my bigger standing taller monsters that have like the fully like carved out legs and arms and stuff like that. Those are a pretty big tasks to do, but they're a lot of fun. They're exciting to make,
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Again, there's days going into that, so I'm sure the energy level is huge on the assembly.
Yeah, it's fun when you're finally like, oh, I finally got these feet done. Now I can stick them on this thing.
Right.
Now it's time to do the
arms. What's the most of time that you ever spent on a single piece, do you think?
Those bigger guys, I probably spend at least 4 to 5 days on it just by myself. And those are like 10 to 12-hour days. Right. I got a good week into those bigger guys.
So it's just a buildup of energy, and then as it comes, it's just.
Yeah. And then it is heartbreaking though when you start hearing tink, 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 tink when you're working on something, and then you gotta play private investigator trying to figure out where that's at, you know. But
do you use
using a flashlight? I don't use a Bunsen really. The only reason why I don't is because I was having issues with the Bunsen like melting in my horns a little bit too much than what I like. So I kind of just get it done and put it in the kiln, you know?
Right.
I might mess around with it a little bit more, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I've had that issue as well. Sometimes I use it and I'm like, why is the shit drooping? And I'm like, fucker. But that'll make you get pissed off real quick.
That was my biggest thing, because I spent so much time like trying to pull out my teeth for like the jaw, and I'd be working on something else and I wouldn't realize that the Bunsen was actually melting in the teeth. So then they just went from like sharp and pointy down to like a little nub. Mm-hmm. And then like I do it all in like a process, so I don't have to go back and rework anything. Like when I do my teeth, I do that first, and then I go back over and do like my lips and stuff like that. And it's kind of hard to sneak back in there, especially with the tongue and all that stuff.
No,
after it's all set.
Right. Have you ever competed? Well, this is a dumb question. You have competed in events, and what do you like about the events, and what do you not like about the events?
My favorite thing about the events is just like the excitement, meeting new people. Like I've met glass blowers over the years that I've done like champs at, and run into them like at Glass Vegas or like at other champs, and they're just like, "Hey, what's up, man?" Just like end up kind of becoming friends with them. You know, it's just kind of the glass community is really awesome like that. So
yeah.
But yeah, champs is a good time. The one thing I don't like about it is when stuff starts breaking. That's really aggravating, especially because like with champs, yeah. So like in champs, they like in some of the events they give you like a prep box, and it's like 3 inches by 3 inches by 3 inches. And when you think about it, you're like, oh man, I could fit so much prep into this box. And then you actually like make your little prep box so you can make sure everything fits into it. And you're just like, man, I'm gonna have to rethink this whole strategy so I have enough time. But that's part of the game, you know, it makes it fun.
Right. It's a game again, and just have fun.
Yeah. Last year, Maddie was laughing at me, Maddie White, because I was sitting there and he was like, you literally packed as much stuff into this box as you could. Because I was like, I know how much time it takes for all these parts to come together. Mm-hmm. I had like legs that were like crossing over each other so they'd like fit perfectly in the box. Like I already had part of my arms prepped up and stuff. And that's right. And that's in a competition like that, you have to do that, because somebody like me might come into it with nothing prepped. And if I'm competing against you, good fucking luck, man. I got no chance. I made that mistake in my first champs back in 2017. I didn't really understand any of the rules, and I just had like my prepped up like bars that weren't sculpted or anything. And Maddie was just like, this is what you brought for your prep? You could have done a lot more. And I was like, I thought this is like how the rules were supposed to be. Because like the rules are kind of a little bit confusing if you're first doing it. So learned my lesson that time.
And that's what it is. You got like everything in life. Your first time might not work out right, but now you kind of know what to expect. So
yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah. Do you consume cannabis yourself or no?
I used to do a lot more. Now I just do it like here and there, not too much anymore. I actually turn into like Popeye the Sailor Man when I smoke, where I'm just like, all right, let's get a bunch of shit done. And sometimes I just like to like kind of just take it easy, you know, and chill out. But no, I don't really smoke that much anymore. My friends make fun of me for it, but they're like, how can you be a pipe maker and not smoke?
Well, there's plenty that don't smoke at all. It sounds like you do a little bit. And that isn't what makes anybody anything, what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what you do that makes you, and that's making
Yep.
badass glass. If you do consume, do you prefer flower concentrates or edibles?
I don't really mess with edibles too much because I've bitten off more than I could chew. No pun intended. Not realizing like what the milligrams are with them. But yeah, I don't know. I like smoking out of rigs and stuff like that, and just like everybody, you know. I don't know.
Right. Do you have any hobbies outside of glass?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty big into foraging for like mushrooms and stuff like that. So like during the certain times of years, I'll go out and like go look for oyster mushrooms and like chicken of the woods and that kind of stuff. I do a lot of deer hunting and fishing a lot too with my dad. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, so many lakes around here. It's awesome.
When you deer,
Live about 20 minutes away from Lake Michigan too, so we'll go out like salmon fishing on Lake Michigan, or we'll head over to the other side of the state to Lake Erie and we'll go walleye fishing. That's a lot of fun too.
wow, yeah.
Yeah, just kind of those kind of things. Don't do as much longboarding as I used to because I'm worried I'm going to break my wrist or something now. But I like to mess around on the longboard too. I do a lot of wakeboarding and water skiing.
Nice.
Snowboarding. Yeah.
So you got hills out there for snowboarding then, huh?
Yeah, you gotta normally go up a little bit farther north. I'm like Southwest Michigan, so it's like normally about a 4-hour drive to like go to a good spot.
All right.
Nubs Knob, or there's Point Highlands.
Nice.
But those are pretty solid places.
Nice.
Yeah, we do a lot of camping. Like we go on the 2 tracks, like because there's a bunch of state land that you can just go and camp on, like Michigan state land. So we'll go do that and camp out by the river in the summertime. Have a bunch of friends and good time.
Yeah, camping's always a good time to just be an animal almost in a sense, you know, like
yeah,
or so anyways.
With our group of friends, it definitely is like that. That's for sure.
Hell yeah.
Always doing something crazy.
Do you find that you still have the same love and passion today as when you first started this crazy thing?
Yeah, it's kind of like with anything. Sometimes it goes in waves. Like you'll be like really pumped about doing a project and stuff, and then you'll have like breakages or whatnot, and kind of beats you up a little bit. But you gotta just keep pushing through it, But yeah, I still love it every day.
Hell yeah.
Even on my days off, I'm out in the shop. I'm out in the shop probably like 6 days a week.
And then when you're not out there, you're probably thinking about it too.
I'm just sitting there and I'm like, well, I'm kind of bored now. What am I gonna do? It's like I could watch a TV show, but I could be doing that while I'm blowing glass, just as background noise.
Right. Hell yeah.
But some days you do need to take a break and step away from the torch, and that kind of re-energizes you too,
Yeah, it's amazing sometimes if you're just hitting it hard and you'll be hitting those bumps and you're just taking a break, you come back and you're like, God, it wasn't that tough. Like,
yeah, you're not wrong.
Do you what can we look forward to in the future from you?
Probably definitely more collabs. Trying to get into some of the bigger shops too. I have never done a show. I have one coming up at the end of December, I believe, at Lil's class. I think that's how you pronounce it. But that should be a lot of fun. I'm wanting to get into more shows, so we'll see if that happens.
And is Lilith Glass, is that in Michigan then?
No, they're actually in Massachusetts, I believe.
Okay, and that'll be in December coming up.
Yep.
Cool, man.
We got that, and then of course, before we know it, Las Vegas is going to be here.
Yep, that's in February.
Yep, first weekend of February, and that whole month before, I'm normally in the shop working crazy hours, trying to make sure I bring enough glass,
Yep, I know how that goes. And then I guess, is there anything you want to add to this? Any specialness to anybody you want to? Or I don't know.
Just shout out to Merc and Mama for like helping my family out, and Dan Foster and Jake Schaff from Kyru Glass. I mean, they've done a lot of good for us, and kind of like family, you know. I'm sure you got glass blowers around you that are kind of like family.
Yeah, it's how it happens. We're all a little crazy, and we all understand what everybody's putting into it, because no joke.
Yep. But no, I appreciate you guys taking me on today. Let me chit chat for a little bit.
Where's the best place to see all your stuff? Is it Instagram, Facebook, website?
Yeah, Instagram. I've been kind of bad lately about posting stuff on Instagram because I've been trying to get it to the shops, but I mostly post all my stuff on my Instagram. But yeah, I got a couple of pieces I need to take some photos and videos of, post them all up, and have them there, you know. But yeah, I mostly post everything on Instagram. Facebook, I really not too much, but.
Well, all right. Well, that's where we need to go check you out at is Instagram, Kyru Glass. And dude, thank you so much for this opportunity to. Man, that was super awesome. I love hanging out with these blowers, and Kyru Glass, that was super fun. Super stoked here. I took some time to hang out with us. Really awesome. Thank you so much. Really quickly, we need your help. We're looking for some Elev8 ambassadors, Elev8 dolls and gents. Really cool stuff. We have a Elev8 doll bath bomb program that's really cool you can join, as well as you can earn credits on all other kinds of stuff when you simply share your code and earn some sales. Also, you need to check out our Elev8 veteran thing. It's really awesome. I love what we're doing. This Elev8 Veterans Day, we have a really cool event going on where we get to share more of what we're doing. Anyways, check it out at elev8veterans.com and support us. If you got a little extra cash, throw it our way. We'll put it to some good use, I promise. Elev8, mind, body, spirit.